Located at the heart of Orchard Road is Masjid Falah, where Ustazah Hidayah taught Fardhu A'in classes over a span of 4 weeks for deaf Muslims. We've had the wonderful opportunity to attend one of her classes, which focused on the topic of Ramadan and fasting. Altogether, about 15 deaf participants attended the class, with more than half of them being females. The participants were aged 16 years old and above. Many of them were eager to learn as deaf-accessible religious classes are rare. The sign language interpreter for the class we attended was Ustazah Suhaila binti Sulaiman. On that fateful day, we were heartened to have had the opportunity to interview her about her experiences. Please introduce yourself.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Suhaila binti Sulaiman and I'm sign language interpreter.
Can you describe what you do?
Okay, so basically I'm interpreting for different categories of for example education, medical setting or police cases, and at the same time I also teaching the deaf community Quran in sign language.
What made you decide to be an interpreter?
Okay, so basically I never decide to be an interpreter. Just that during my uni days, during my third year, I was in a volunteer club for the special needs, and then suddenly it picked my heart and inspired me to help the deaf community. There was one situation where a friend of mine, who last time I met her during a camp for the teenagers, and she's a deaf, and then she started to learn how to recite Surah Al-Fatihah in sign language. And then it happened that I was so I don't know how to it is indescribable to say how I feel at that time, because you know how hard it is just to read Surah Al-Fatihah, and then they were so motivated and happy to have someone to teach them Quran in sign language. So from that point of time, I decided I really want to help the deaf community. I want to serve them, and this form of hikmah be a means for me to be closer to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala.
What are some difficulties you have faced when interpreting?
For me, every job or passion or anything that we do, there will always be trials and difficulties or hardship. But then no job is easy, but it is worth it. So some of the difficulties that I face, definitely in conveying the accuracy of the message from a deaf person to a hearing person, or vice versa. So for me to have the accuracy is hard, and also because I myself is still learning, and I'm still like maybe in the vocab and also the way to interpret better. So every day is a learning day for me, even though it's hard, but I know I don't want to give up.
Can you share with us an interesting experience you've had?
Interesting scenarios. Actually, there's a lot of different experience that I had in this journey, and then I think one of it that I can't forget is when a student of mine. I remember I was teaching a short surah with them, and then I was facilitating, and then they actually asked in signing, like, Ustazah, why are we tested in this life? Like, why am I deaf? And then how do I actually be patient in this test? And then it actually made me think that this nikmah, they are actually the one that help us to remember all the blessings that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala has granted us. And then it made me think, just the simple nikmah, a small blessing that we don't be thankful for Him, that actually other people who are being tested, they actually want it and they are craving for it. So for me, interesting scenarios are more to getting reminders while I'm working or interpreting, because even when I'm interpreting, I'm actually giving reminders to myself. So they are actually the one that help me to be a better person.
What do you think of the accessibility provided for deaf Muslims?
Okay, for the accessibility wise, I am actually so thankful. Alhamdulillah, there's some mosque association organization that actually have the initiative to have classes for the deaf, some exclusively for the deaf. For example, like Fardhu A'in class, Ramadan classes, and also public talk or any other talks that inclusive both deaf and hearing. But I really hope and I'm sure more can be done, and maybe in the future we can have interpreters for Friday khutbah and also more classes such as Quranic classes for the deaf community, inshallah.
Do you have any message that you want to share with the community?
People with disabilities is not a burden to us actually, so we should never think that way. Instead of thinking that we are the one that help them, we should think that they are the one that help us. We are actually learning more from them compared to them learning from us, and we need to give them the opportunity to learn, provide them with resources, provide them with what we have and how we can actually learn so that they can also learn the same thing as us. That is what we call as hak beragama untuk orang kurang upaya. And for me, the blessings that we have in our daily life, we can see, we can hear, we can talk, we can walk, all of these we can be so much more grateful when we are with the disabled people. They are the one that actually source of reminders for the blessings that Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala has granted us. So to include them and make them feel belonging with us.
We are glad to be able to interview Suhaila and hear about her personal experiences, difficulties, and thoughts about the accessibility provided. We hope that Suhaila's personal takeaways have provided you with additional insights on the deaf Muslims community in Singapore.